So far, we've seen that the server will produce static or dynamic HTML that it sends to the browser to render. Recall that static HTML is unchanged from request to request, whereas dynamic HTML is generated at the server, for example, by running a PHP program which may query a database. Either way, HTML pages may contain programs written in a language called JavaScript, and these programs will execute at the client and perform further rendering and content production on the page. So here's a little example of an HTML file that may be sent to the client. You can see it has the standard tags. It also has tags script that indicate the beginning and end of a JavaScript program. Here the program sets two local variables, a and b, and then invokes document write to modify the contents of the page. The contents of the page will include world, the value 3, which is the sum a plus b, and then a closed boldface tag, which closes off the open boldface tag that was at the top. When this program is rendered by the browser, it looks like this on the page. JavaScript is a programming language whose programs, called scripts, implement client-side portions of a web application. These programs run in the browser and therefore make the web experience more interactive. In fact, the web experience is so much better when using JavaScript that people marked the point at which JavaScript came into heavy use as Web 2.0. JavaScript programs are executed in the browser and, as just shown, can be used to alter a web page's contents to determine what is displayed. To access page elements, JavaScript programs use the Document Object Model, or DOM. JavaScript programs can also perform interactive processing. For example, they can track mouse movements to implement drag and drop, or run code to process button clicks. In addition to event handlers being used to update a page, they can be used to issue web requests and to read replies. Requests can be issued asynchronously, leading to a programming pattern called AJAX. This acronym stands for Asynchronous JavaScript plus XML. It first saw use in the early 2000s and then saw widespread deployment in Google Mail and Google Maps in 2004 and 2005. These web applications for email and maps were far more responsive than their Web 1.0 counterparts. Finally, the most relevant part of JavaScript to our discussion now is that programs can read and modify cookies. JavaScript is a powerful programming language with access to sensitive resources maintained by the browser, and therefore the browser needs to enforce a security policy with respect to what JavaScript programs can do. In particular, if I use my browser to visit bank.com to do my banking, but I also use it to visit attacker.com, I don't want attacker.com JavaScript programs to be able to access my bank data. How might they do this? Since JavaScript programs can read cookies, then without security protection, a script from attacker.com could run and alter the layout of bank.com's website, which, say, could be running in another browser window. Or it could intercept keystroke events to sniff the user's password to bank.com. It could read cookies stored by bank.com. If cookies include session identifiers, then the attacker.com script could issue web requests as if they were from the authenticated user. To avoid these problems, browsers implement the so-called Same Origin Policy, or SOP. The browser associates the elements of a web page, including its layout, cookies, events, and so on, with an origin. The origin is primarily defined by the host name that the web page originated from, for example, bank.com. The Same Origin Policy states that a web page's elements can only be accessed by scripts with the same origin as the page. So to be clear, according to the Same Origin Policy, JavaScript programs are limited in the cookies that they access. Here we see a cookie that was set and stored into the cookie cache. And according to the rules, the value should only be reachable by any domain ending in .zdnet.com. That is the origin of the cookie. We can see this in the domain part of the set cookie attribute shown at the top. Any other JavaScript program whose origin is different than ZDNet.com will not have access to that cookie.